Welcome to the 2% Club, where we talk all things work, wealth, and wellness with the founders, funders, and forward thinkers rewriting old playbooks with intention. I'm your host, Rachel Hirsch, venture investor, wellness operator, and founder of Wellness Growth Ventures. Each week, we dive into bold conversations about scaling companies, building wealth, investing wisely, and staying mostly sane while doing it. Welcome back to the 2% Club podcast, where we talk all things work, wealth, and wellness. I am your host, Rachel Hirsch, and today we have the incredible honor. I call her LT. She goes by Toya.
LT.
How would you introduce yourself, though?
I would say LaToya, but then naturally it just goes to Toya, and a few people actually call me LT too. Which
Really?
Yeah, because my L and T obviously though is capitalized, so the LT is natural.
Yeah, it was the immediate nickname for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So context, we know each other from being Lululemon ambassadors and for like a lot of years together. But this year, I would say, is when she became my person.
Yes.
She stuck with me.
Yes.
But will you give like a 30-second context of you, who you are, before we dig in?
Yes. So I am a personal trainer, content creator, YouTuber. The main thing that I focus on is our YouTube channel, where we have a variety of different health and fitness workouts, made primarily to be able to do from home or anywhere. So that's kind of our main mission with the YouTube channel.
Okay, I have so many questions already that I told her all my questions were in advance and I'm already like left turning. Okay, so when you were a personal trainer pre-YouTubing, was that your like MO in terms of personal training style?
Yeah, so that was honestly before we started the YouTube channel. My goal was to be able to travel to different people and personal train versus just being stuck in one club. And so my husband and I both worked at a gym. And then when we quit there, our goal was to be able to reach more people. So I guess like travel personal trainer is what I was. Like we worked at a gym, like private training, but mostly travel to people's homes to be able to train.
And did you were you always fitness savvy when you were younger, or like how did this come to be?
Yeah, so I was always an athlete. I ran track, ran cross country, played basketball. So I was always an athlete growing up. But the school that I grew up in a really small town, and so there wasn't as much offered. Like I didn't know what lacrosse was, so I went to college. Like there was no, we didn't have a soccer team on my high school. So it was like a very small. To where when I went to college is when I really was like immersed into more of what athletics and fitness can be. I did strength and conditioning in high school, but again, when I went to college, then I really learned like, oh, I was just hurting myself. This is what your strength and conditioning can be. So, really, when I went to college, that's when I wanted to become a personal trainer. That's when I really got into true health and fitness.
Right.
And yeah, then I started competing in bodybuilding competitions. I don't know if you knew this.
I don't think I knew this.
So basically, in college, my goal was to become a physical therapist. My sophomore year, I had a knee surgery, to where I was going to physical therapy, and I dreaded every appointment. And I was like, I can't even go be a patient. How am I going to do this the rest of my life?
Right.
That's what actually made me shift, and I switched my major to nutritional sciences. So then I just mostly focused more on nutrition. Then my junior year, I started competing in bodybuilding competitions, which really focused on your nutrition, but I would never do another one because it focused on it in a very unhealthy way. Looking back at it, there is a healthy way maybe that you could do it, but it was a very unhealthy time for me of what I thought was great nutrition. But now you look back and you're like, that was a controlled eating disorder. That was not nutrition.
We need a whole part two already of that, because like I always say the wellness industry is so unwell, and that's like the perfect example
That
of
is
that.
actually the best way to put that, because I was lean and I was fit, but I was 9% body fat, which is not healthy. I was 107 pounds when I stepped on stage, and I think I was 125 when I started training. I did a 12-week prep my first time. So that's like, it's not
fast.
Yeah. So it was just like, you get addicted to watching your body change, where you think you're like, oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm so picky about what I eat, and I'm not putting this in my body. I'm so healthy. And then you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't have a period for 4 months. I like just so many things that you're like, that's not healthy. So
totally.
that though made me want to get into personal training. because that was the first time, though, aside from the bodybuilding competing, that was the first time that I went to the gym with lots of purpose. So it was, I went
Oh,
to build my glutes or build my quads or get stronger. I wanted to
right.
build my squat or whatever it was. I had
Yeah.
a plan to follow. And that was the first time that I'd followed a program. And so that made me intrigued. I'm like, oh, what if I follow the program for this? Or like, et cetera, you
Right.
know? So yeah, that's how I got into personal training itself.
Okay. And then COVID hit
Yes.
and gyms got shut down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And what was your like immediate response?
So at first it was, I think everyone remembers the like 2 week shutdown. Gyms will open back up in 2 weeks. So at that time we were full time training like 5 a.m. till like 8 p.m. I had clients all throughout the day. I'd come home for an hour to eat lunch and then go back and train someone else.
Oh,
Like it was a long day of training, Monday through Friday. That was my life. And so at that time, it was almost nice because it was like a 2 week break where we also didn't take time off because it was more stressful
yeah. If
to
you're
take
not
it
there,
off.
you don't get paid.
Exactly. And it was like at that time, a lot of the clients we had, they didn't work out if it wasn't with us type of thing. So then we felt guilty.
Oh,
Like it was that like, okay, when are you coming back? Because I need to move. And
right.
instead of looking at it as like, we need to teach you how to move on your own, it was like, I'll be back soon. I'm only going to take a 16-hour vacation. So it was not healthy also in that aspect. So it was like a nice little break where we were like, oh, we can wake up and have coffee in the morning and not run out of the house by 4:45.
Right.
So then once we realized it was going to be a little longer, we'd already had our YouTube channel, but it was not follow along workouts. It was like tips and tricks. And I think right around the time Instagram had turned into from a 15-second to maybe was it a minute long video, whatever that first
Yeah.
transition was. So we were like, we want to be able to, the reason we left the gym is we wanted to be able to reach a wider audience, right? And so then we started the YouTube because we were like, we want to reach an even wider audience. And if we're
Right.
only training one on one, we can't do that,
Right.
So that's what started our YouTube channel where it was like tips and tricks or like just information. So like we would go through a workout, but we'd be talking through like the workout and what we're doing and why we're doing it instead of just doing the workout to where you could follow along, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So when COVID hit, after we realized it would be a longer time, I initially was like, we should try to do some follow along videos. And Julius was like, no, because when the gyms open back up, we're not going to be consistent with that because we're going to be training again. So then after like a week, he was like, all right, let's just try one and see. So we shot our first follow along video. It was 20 minutes long. It took us 4.5 hours to film, just to film the 20-minute because our apartment was so small, we couldn't both fit in the frame. So I would
Oh.
shoot my portion, then he would shoot his portion. Then we would flip flop back and forth, back and forth. And we'd have to reset up the camera. Then the lighting would change. We had one camera, so you had to do multiple angles. So if we shot one exercise, I'd have to do that exercise 3 times to get all the angles. It was a disaster.
How did you even know? Like, okay, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
personal experience here. I'm like, this works. This is good. Like, I'll use. But
Yeah.
you already were like, we need 3 different angles. We need different. Like, how did you know?
Think because we were trainers, we were initially using these workouts to be able to send to our clients too, to be able to say, here,
Oh.
do this until the gyms open back up. And so where we were in LA, no one even wanted to like come within 100
Yeah.
yards of you, let alone 6 feet, right? And so we knew it would be a minute before we like hands on were with our clients.
Right.
We'd started seeing some of them through Zoom, but it still wasn't the same. I'd never done a Zoom personal training session. How am I going to fix your form? How am I like that was never even a thought to me, right? So initially it was like send these videos to our clients to be able to do through the YouTube to be like, here's the link to the YouTube channel. No one else is going to see this. We might get a few hundred views on it, but like it wasn't to go. That was not what we wanted.
It wasn't to be this.
Exactly. That was not what our intent of the YouTube channel was at all. When we started training again, our goal was to go back to what we were doing because also the follow along was taking so long. We didn't know what we were doing. That it was taking, it should not take 4 hours to shoot a 20-minute video. But at that time, that's what we knew. And we were like, there's no way we have this time to do this consistently.
Yeah.
And we wanted our YouTube to be consistent. So at that time, we shot one. We were like, send it to the clients. It was a great hit workout that they could do from home, no equipment because no one had equipment
Right.
at home. And then our clients loved it. And then we're like, let's just do another one. then we started getting hit up by brands to do Instagram live workouts, and
Oh, yeah,
like
that was a
that was a
thing.
thing.
Uh-huh.
So when we started doing that, it was like, oh, we could actually set the camera up this way, and we can both fit in the frame if we stagger, but watch out for the ceiling fan that's like 2 inches above your head. Like, so we started to figure it out a little bit more. Then we started renting spaces to be able to film. So
Oh.
that's how we got into like renting peer spaces. We also went to tops of garages and we started getting kicked off of those. And so we were
Wait,
like,
that's
hey,
amazing.
whatever. I feel like at that time, everyone was trying to get outside wherever you could
Yeah,
get outside.
yeah.
And like, we went to tops of garages when we could find them. And then once we were like, we need something consistent, we would start renting like warehouses and things like that to film. And then we were like, oh, this is kind of fun. We can't do anything else right now because it's
Right.
COVID. So then we started having fun with it. And I think that's kind of when we were like, oh, we could probably do this consistently. When we start training again, let's just set aside one day a week to film. Like, so that's when we started taking it like a little bit more serious. And I'd say that was probably like 6 months into COVID.
Okay, we're not gonna. It's gonna blow past the 30-minute mark 100% here because okay, I have a personal question which you can totally decline.
Yeah.
But if I know a lot of people that worked in fitness, when COVID hit, they were like, "Shit, I'm not making money," and like got scared.
Yeah.
Was it, how did you? At what point were you like, "This is a
money maker?"
Yeah, versus like, "Shit, we should be worried right now."
So probably not. Okay, so when COVID hit, we probably 4 weeks in started to train clients via Zoom. So although we weren't making as much as we were in person because we weren't charging as much, some income was coming in.
Okay.
And then I think that kind of helped to be like, okay, we're not as so okay, we would still Zoom train. So there would be times where we would train from like 6 a.m. until noon. And then after noon, we'd eat lunch and then we would film. So at that time, we were still training. So we were still making money that way and able to do the YouTube. But then again, once gyms opened back up, we were like, we got to go back to the real money. We can't say Zoom forever. So then what are we going to do? Right. Because then it became like, we're going to be traveling to clients.
Right.
There were times Monday through Friday, we would see each other at 7 p.m. And that was it because we'd be just in our own zones throughout the day. So we would only be able to film YouTube like on a Friday evening or a Saturday. And then our only days off were Saturday, Sunday. So if we took Saturdays to film, that kind of sucks sometimes.
Right.
We're like, oh, we can't do anything. So we just knew that once gyms opened back up, we wouldn't be able to consistently do follow alongs because it just took so much time. And at that time, we were making zero money on YouTube. So it did not make sense to cancel a day of personal training where you make your money to film and it wasn't making any money.
Right? When did that change?
So, long story short, we never went back in person because most of our clients had gotten so accustomed to the Zoom when it was working for them. They're still seeing results. Whatever their goals were was just to be strong, to lose body fat, to build muscle. Right. We figured it out from the screen.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, once things open back up, they're like, I don't have to deal with the parking. I don't have to
LA traffic.
Exactly. And a lot of them had kids where they didn't have to wait for a date or their childcare to show up. So a lot of our clients, when the gym we trained at, there wasn't a lot of parking. There'd be times where they'd show up 30 minutes late and it wasn't their fault, you know? And so it was so stressful. And so they're like, I love this.
Right.
So we stayed Zoom. I have not trained in person since COVID hit.
Whoa.
Since COVID hit, right? And I take that back. Throughout the years, I'd say like maybe one or two people, I'd go see them like once or twice a week in person. But then I would be like, do you want to do Zoom? Like, and they would go with it, you know? So like, it's very infrequently. So I would say we weren't really worried about the money as much as you would think because we were still training.
Right.
But then once numbers started to pick up.
And when was that?
So we hit 1,000 subscribers April 18th. And I remember that because it was my mom's birthday. My mom passed away. And so I remember 1,000 subscribers is where you can become monetized after you hit 4,000 watch time hours. So it's 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch time hours. We hadn't hit the watch time yet, but the subscribers was so hard because it's like Instagram, you're scrolling, you're like, oh, I like their content, follow, move along, you might never see their page again. So YouTube, you have to go to the profile and hit subscribe.
Oh, wow.
And like to get you to my profile, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
Think of how many YouTube videos you've watched and you watched.
I've never subscribed. Never subscribed. Never subscribed.
Right. And so it's so hard to get subscribers. So once we hit that 1,000 mark, we were like, we'll worry about the watch time hours later. to get
Right.
1,000 people to, and I think at the time I had 1,000 Instagram followers, and so it was like, that's a
From a
lot
thousand to
of,
2 million.
yes. And so it was like that day was just so, we cried because we're like, do we have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Like, and that was 1,000 subscribers. So then I think we hit the watch time hours that maybe June. And just
This is still all year
perspective,
one.
this is all year one. We started the channel June 30th of 2019. And so this is right around the first year we finally got, I don't think we got monetized till the February, following February. I think it was over a year. I could be wrong. It took a long time, around a year to a year and
Right.
a half, where we got monetized. I think the first month we made $10 of being monetized, right?
Listen, I can't
So
wait for my first $10 check.
it's like when you get monetized, it's so exciting, but it's not like you're like, quit your job, here we go,
Right.
right? And so once we got monetized, so that's when we were like, okay, do we have a YouTube channel? Is this going to be like really doing something? So then fast forward, COVID kind of lifts and everyone's like, I'm ready to train again. We were training 8 to 10 clients a day, both of us. And it was like all Zoom. It was
Okay.
exhausting because you're in front of a computer screen. I would train from 6 a.m. to noon, almost straight through. I would go work out, eat lunch, and come back and train a couple more in the evening. It was exhausting. So then it got to a point where Julius was like, we need to film. When are we going to film? And I remember saying, like, I train every day. I'm
I don't have
training
time for this.
really important like clients that are trying to really train for important things. How I can't like cancel them to shoot a YouTube workout. Like, what does that even sound like? And so it got to a point where he's like, we have to figure out a day where we can film. So it became Wednesdays after 12, no more training. And that was hard for me. It was so hard
Yeah.
because it was like, I'm saying no to money in the evening.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so once we really started making money on YouTube, to where it was like, I'm canceling clients because I need to film YouTube. The YouTube was paying more than the clients. Then it was like, okay, this is like becoming a real thing. I would say that was maybe 2 years into the YouTube channel. But I also want to preface that that's not normal. That is not like it went from 0 to 100 really quickly, where we were like, whoa. And I remember the day I was like, if we can just make enough money on YouTube to pay our rent, I'll feel like it's worth it. And that like was like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. So then once we saw that, it was like, okay, this is more than just like a passion project now. Like we loved the YouTube channel. The comments we would get from people was what we've been wanting our whole career, because it was like you want to reach more people.
Right.
And to have a random person from New Zealand say, you've
Whoa.
helped me reach my goal weight, you've helped me feel stronger, I go into the gym more confidently. We were like, we have to shoot another workout this week. Like it was literally just like that's what we wanted, and we were making no money. You know what I mean? And so that it was just like that battle of, we still have to pay rent, but we want to shoot these workouts. Where do we find that balance? So once we found the balance, we were still, I just stopped training 2 months before I gave birth. We were still training because we loved training. Our whole goal was just like, we want to reach more people. We love training. All of my one-on-one clients, I will say I was very lucky to get to a point to where if I'm training you one-on-one, I love you, because it was to the point where it was like, I can't give an hour of my time away if you drain my energy.
Right.
So all of my clients I loved, and that was the change, because it used to be,
I'll take anyone.
I just train whoever needs to be trained. If
Right.
you're gonna pay for it, great, let's work out. But then it got to where I was like, if I'm waking up at 5 a.m., I have to love the person that I start my day with, and I love her, like, So when I stopped training, it was so hard for me, because I was
That's
like,
fair.
I love this,
Yeah.
but I don't have to do it anymore. I
Yeah,
get to
that's a
have
weird one.
coffee.
That's a
Yes,
weird one.
yes. So yeah.
Okay, what was what was the
Sorry.
point? No, I am just. What was the point, and what when you were like, shit skyrocketed, like
Yeah.
it, because it was 0 to 100 definitely, but when
Yeah.
you went from 1,000 to 100,000 to a
Yeah.
million, were there different pieces that you were like, oh, we should upgrade our tech, or like, oh,
Yeah.
our workouts need to be different, or we need to be adding this variable? Like, what were the pieces that you inputted to get you there?
Yeah,
if you're
so
thinking like math
when
equation.
we first got maybe even like 10,000 subscribers, we responded to every comment on YouTube. Every single one.
Even the haters?
Everyone. Even
Whoa.
though I'm a very like Arthur Fist, like, oh my gosh, like typing nice things, like we didn't know what we were doing. We worked out in person, we trained in person. So to teach someone over a computer screen was hard for us,
Yeah.
right? And so we listened to everything. If it was something that I didn't care to hear, thank you so much, move on.
Okay.
But most of it was great feedback. For example, we had one camera. So people would say deadlift, for example. My back hurts. Are you arching? Are you not arching? What are you doing? And so we're like, oh, we should probably get another camera angle. We need another camera. So the beginning of the money you make goes to investing things
Right.
like new camera. Our audio sounded like we're in a tunnel. We need new mics, you know? And so there was a lot, yes, definitely initially that we just listened to the feedback, and majority of it was more angles, which required more cameras. Because by the way, we don't have a camera crew. Julius and I set up everything. It's literally just us two.
It's
all
insane
place length.
still.
So yeah, so that required more cameras, different mics. Then it was we need more space because our apartment at the time was still small. We moved apartments with the goal in mind of we need an apartment that we can film. So we were like, it's okay if the rent is a little more because we're making a little bit of money on YouTube now where that can go towards the extra rent as long as we can film here now. So then we moved apartments to be able to film more. So it was like definitely upgrades in a lot of different ways. And then we started adding more equipment. At the beginning, it was all body weight.
Okay.
Then people are like, my gym's open. Could you do a dumbbell workout? And we're like, yeah, but we don't have dumbbells here. We bought a whole set. We never had weights at home. We worked at gyms our whole life. So we bought dumbbells, we bought kettlebells. Yeah, lots of like upgrades in a sense of like, as COVID started to lift, people are like, hey, I found a pair of dumbbells at the garage sale. Can I add these to my workout? And we're like, of course you can add dumbbells. Duh. And then we're like, oh, but we have no dumbbell workouts. They don't know what they're doing without us. We need to add dumbbell workouts.
Right.
So it progressed that way. And like as you got more subscribers, you get people that when we were out of COVID for maybe like a year or two, people were like, our gyms are still locked down. Can you please use a barbell? I still don't have equipment to go to a gym. I only have this equipment at home. And we're like, whoa, people still need our body weight workouts.
Yeah.
People still don't have equipment. And so, yeah, it was just like a lot of listening to feedback and like reading every comment. And I would say once we got to like 500,000 subscribers, it was impossible to read every comment again. But by then we'd learned like a routine and like kind of what people need, what they want. And that was our first thing. It's like, what do people need? People don't have gyms right now. For us, working out is a huge part of our mental health. What can we do to help people do that at home and not go crazy? You know. So yeah.
At what point did like brands start reaching out where you were like, oh, like this is we're big?
Yeah, honestly, at 10,000 subscribers, I remember at the shoot, we hit 10,000 at that shoot. We had a brand reach out to go do film workouts for their, it was for, oh, I forget the self-marketing something. I don't, whatever the brand was, they filmed in Orange County and they were like, we want you to come here and like film these workouts for our YouTube channel. At that time, we weren't making any money on YouTube. So we're like, what? This is huge.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you find us? And they're like, we love your YouTube workouts. And that's the first time we were like, you saw our YouTube workouts? Like, whoa. And so at that shoot that day, we hit 10,000 subscribers.
Whoa.
But then from there, it wasn't the brands first. You know what it was first? Schools. So we had one of my clients, her daughter, PE was not a thing because of COVID. Her daughter was sent our YouTube workouts at home for the home PE.
Whoa.
So my client sent it to me and was like, I just emailed the teacher and told them you're my trainer. What? Like random. And so we were like, what? We found out that schools were using our YouTube workouts because they were body weight and they could send the video link to the parents to give their child PE at home. And we were like, whoa, like we never would have thought that wasn't a niche thing that we, and then my nephew at school, like literally so many people that we knew were like, look at my homework for the day. And we weren't even at 100,000 subscribers yet.
Oh,
so we were like,
my God.
Whoa, this is really cool. And so then when brands started to reach out, we honestly said no to every single one. And here's why. Because YouTube, the way it works is like your video lives as long as you keep it on your channel, right? So with the brand, you have to be careful because you're like, okay, this is our brand, the Juice Toya. 10 years from now, is this brand going to be a brand that I still love, I still use, that is still reputable and hasn't had a scam or something that you're like, because if you take that video down, you could be taking down lots of money from your income. So a video we put out 6 years ago is still one of our top earners every month on our YouTube channel. If we put a brand deal on that video and I had to take that down today, I would be taking down income, monthly income that would
That's
just wipe away.
crazy.
Right. So you have to be really careful with YouTube sponsorships if you care to keep the videos up, right? If you're like, I'm gonna delete this in a year, I'm gonna take the deal, great. But like with
Right.
our workouts, it's a video that it's not like something that's relevant just today,
Right,
like
yeah.
the news or something,
Yeah.
and no one's ever gonna watch it again. So we haven't really said yes to a lot of brands. We just recently did a brand deal with Beats, and I've used Beats almost my entire life. So that made sense because
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
I continue to use them. I love them.
Right.
That made sense to me. Brands that reach out that I don't personally use, it's hard to say yes because it's going to take me a while to know if I love you. And so it was really cool for them to reach out and it felt really good in terms of like, whoa, they noticed our channel, but it also made us realize how much we value the channel. Then on top of that, with what we do, people trust you. I
Yeah.
mean, to the point where
Yeah.
they're like, you were drinking something, it was pink. Did you use that to lose weight? Did you use that to build muscle? What was that? And I could tell them whatever it is, and they would take it. Right. And so it's like they trust you with
Oy.
their health and wellness. And like
Yeah.
we take that very seriously to where we're like, okay, like, and so we of course get pitched a lot of supplements. And we don't personally take a ton of supplements. And so that's a hard one with our channel where it's like,
I bet
if
people
we
ask
just
all the
took
time.
supplements,
Yeah.
it would be great, but we don't really. And it'd be easy for us to just take the deal and lie and
Yeah.
lie, but it's like if that doesn't feel right, these people they trust you. They
Yeah.
trust you. So yeah, like we're very careful with our YouTube, what we do as a sponsorship, like for that reason.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But for the people that don't know you very well, you're just like one of the best humans I know. And the way you move through the world, it's like no one deserves success more than you. And so even it's like not shocking to hear you say that she's like turning down, I imagine, millions of dollars all the time because she's like, that's not authentic.
Yeah,
It's not the right thing to do.
Because of the comments that we've gotten where people have literally sent us emails where you can tell they're crying writing the email, and it's like the reason we got into this is again, we wanted to reach a wider audience to help them to make them. And I think living in LA, I grew up in Missouri and my husband grew up in Texas. So I think living here also made us realize how much is not real, especially in health and wellness, where people we personally know have had surgery and then been like, did these exercises to shrink my waist, and we're like, oh. And so you see that with your own eyes, it makes you feel sad for the people that genuinely just want to be
Just
healthy
want to feel
and
good.
then they just want to feel good and then you see these things that are unrealistic and they think that what they're doing is not enough and they're doing way more than enough, but they're seeing all these unrealistic expectations and it puts so much pressure to like do more, do more, do more, do more, do more, and you're never enough when it's not real. It's
Right.
not real. So yeah, I think just being in that culture, like you see that and you're like, wow, like we should just not be like that.
Right.
So yeah.
What are things that you live by, like you swear by, whether it's food, nutrition,
Yeah.
and like what are, yeah, movement, any of that?
I think movement and hydration. Like, and I say movement because it truly is just movement, whatever is going to make you feel your best. There are things that we should be doing. Like it's very important to make sure that you're strength training in some way, especially as you get older, especially as women, just for your bone health, your bone density. That's important. Does that mean you need to go extremely heavy and strength train 4 or 5 times a week? Absolutely not. Right. So I enjoy that. I love strength training and I try to strength train at least 3 days a week, but I aim for four. I love that. For some people, they get in two, and that is great. And so, whatever feels good for you. I love running. I could tell you probably a million people right now that will never run ever because they despise it and that's okay. And so it's like finding what you love that makes you feel good, that gets your body moving. And after having a baby, I think that really was ingrained to me because when I couldn't move, I was like, I just want to go walk. I just want to walk. And that time I was in the hospital for 8 days and they wouldn't even let me go outside to walk. And I was like, that's when I think I truly realized that just moving your body, like laying in a hospital bed for 8 days and then you realize, like, I just want to move. I
Yeah.
just want to move. I would literally walk up and down the hospital halls as far as they let me go. And I was like, then I'll do this, you know? And so moving in whatever way and postpartum, my first 3 months, I only walked. I only walked. I didn't start strength training again until 4 months postpartum. And so,
You
and I
didn't
loved it.
feel ready, or they tell you not to?
I didn't feel ready and I wasn't allowed to because not the healing with the preeclampsia. I couldn't go work out alone, first of all, because exercise can increases your blood pressure just naturally. But because my blood pressure was already so high, increasing it more could have been dangerous. So then they told me that, and I was like, oh, so I'm not exercising ever again. Thank you.
Right.
Like,
Goodbye, Juice Toya.
Yes, exactly. And so I was still in such a terrified state. But then exercising also decreases your blood pressure. And if they would have explained it in a way that wasn't so terrifying,
Silly.
I would, you know, so looking back, I would have done more exercise. But in that moment, I was terrified.
Yeah.
My goal at that point was to stay alive, you know. And
Right.
so, yeah, partially that. But then once I got to a point where I felt safe to work out, then I was like, I don't know where to start now because now I
Yeah.
didn't get to heal like I planned on. I planned to go to PT at 6 weeks. Like I had a plan, you know. And so I only walked, and it honestly though, it was a blessing in disguise because I needed that. I can't tell you a time in my entire working out career that I've been able to just start from zero and not be pressured to have to run a certain pace, have to lift a certain weight. I could just move. And at that time, going on daily walks, pushing the stroller felt so good. And honestly, I was like, can I just do this forever? You know, like that felt really good. But then once I started strength training again, it was like, all right, here we go. You know, like that was like, I'm back, you know. So
Okay, so you'll always move. You'll
Yes.
always strength train.
Yes. And then hydration, because I also at that same time realized how crappy you feel not being hydrated, how important being hydrated is to your body, to your joints, to your brain, to your mind. Like, and then also breastfeeding. I've never been more dehydrated in my life. Like literally
I didn't
sandpaper.
even think of that.
Breastfeeding dehydration, I think it needs to be like plastered everywhere. It does not make
Yeah.
sense, Rachel. It's the most. Ask Julius. It was like he's a very much. I don't like things on the tables. I don't like things on the counters. I had a sparkling water, a giant glass of water. Then I had a either a puppy or some type of like flavored drink,
Right.
and then I had electrolytes all at one time at any given time. And he was like, "Can I move one cup?" And I was like, "Don't touch
I love his
any
OCD.
of it." Yes, yes. And so it was like, I mean, I would wake up and drink a gallon of water if I could. It was never enough. It was never enough. So now I'm like,
Crazy.
everyone stay hydrated. Don't get dehydrated. It is insane. It's insane.
Okay, I have like sort of rapid fire
More.
before we get to the real rapid fire.
Okay.
But one thing to do if you want to tone muscle.
Lift heavier than you think you need to lift. And I say this in a way of like, you can lift heavier. I think a lot of people are afraid.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say heavy, I don't want to scare anyone thinking you need to like throw barbells overhead, right? But I think people are afraid to go heavier than like a 5 or even maybe sometimes a 10 because they're afraid to hurt themselves or the recovery. You get really sore and then you're like, I injured myself, right? And so with that comes learning how to properly recover then, which hydration is a big one, right? And so I think definitely to tone, there needs to be muscle there. If you lose body fat and there's no muscle, you're not toned, you're just skinny, right? And so you need to be able to build that muscle tone, which really requires breaking down some muscle tissue, right? For some people, heavy will be 10 pounds. That's your heavy. For me, depending on what it is, that might be too light because I've been lifting for so long, right? And so if you're just getting into weights, I guess my recommendation would be get to a point where you feel confident. So if that means you're hiring a coach, bringing a friend, doing something to help you feel more confident so that you can lift a little bit heavier without feeling afraid. Because I think that's the biggest thing. People are scared to get bulky and they're scared to injure themselves.
Yeah.
And I guess my last topic on that would be it takes work to get bulky. It really does. You really have to go very heavy. You have to eat in a caloric surplus. Like you're not going to get bulky overnight. There are people every day trying really hard to put on 2 pounds of muscle. It takes work to get bulky. So I think that's my other thing is don't be afraid to get bulky and challenge yourself a little bit more than you think you
Oh, I love that
can.
one. Yes, that's a
Yes.
nugget of gold.
Yes.
Okay, if you're looking to lose weight.
Focus on your nutrition first.
Whoa.
Because you can lose weight focusing on your nutrition just going on walks. Like that movement that I talked about that you find that you enjoy. I think that's the other hard part of people trying to lose weight is they think they have to run and do endless amounts of cardio and they think they have to strength train and do cardio and go to classes and do all these things. Your nutrition. That is going to be the biggest thing because you can do all of those things and then not be honed in on that nutrition and it's not a waste because you're still moving your body and you're getting that muscle or you're working your strength, but then you go home and then your body fat loss is down the drain. Right?
It's funny when I run afterwards, there like you couldn't give me a whole cow and I would still be hungry. Like
yes.
I just am ravenous.
Yeah.
And so there's no way like my caloric deficit or whatever. Like
Yeah.
me and running does not help me lose weight.
Yeah, because you're just like I had a friend of mine that would go walk on the track all the time in college, and then she would stop by McDonald's on the way home and get a strawberry shake. And she's like, "I just walked
I love her.
X amount of miles."
I love her.
And so then she was like, "You know what? At this point, I'm just walking off the shakes." Like, and so it's like I think about that often, where she's like, "I'm not going to be in a caloric deficit, right?" And so, but it's like she knew that, and so yeah, I think that's the hardest. It's the hardest part for majority of people because I don't think I've ever met someone that's like, "I don't like to eat. I don't like food." You know, it's like that is the hardest part.
Yeah.
But if you can hone in on that and try not to go balls to the wall with the workouts at first, because I think that's the other thing where people, it's not sustainable, you know, like they're like, I'm going to do 2 a day and I'm going to work out 5 days a week or no rest days ever. And it's like, you can lose weight focusing on 3 good days, focusing on your nutrition. And then those other days, just walk, take your dog on a walk, go on a bike ride, go on a hike. Like it doesn't have to be this crazy mentality of just like pound your body until 3 weeks later, you're like, I'm sore, I'm tired, and then you're taking 4 rest days, and then the fifth you don't work out, and then you're like, nah, I'm out of routine, and then it's over, right? So start small, focus on the nutrition, and you can build up the exercise. Once you get into routine, you find what feels good, you find what works for you. It's always easier to add days than to commit to 5 days, and then if you miss a day, now you feel guilty. Now you're like, now I have to start
Such good
over.
advice.
You know, so it's always easier to add days than to try to take days away because then you start feeling guilty and then that's where everything falls apart.
Okay, what is one thing you would say if when maybe someone is pregnant,
Yeah,
you're like, this is one thing you should definitely do pre and then postpartum?
strength training. Strength training for both because strength training, again, 2 to 3 days a week. 3 days even might be pushing it for some people too. Like 2 days is great. You can get in a couple full body days. But if you can aim for 3, great. But strength training throughout pregnancy is probably the best thing I ever did. Multiple reasons. Back pain. That's a very big thing, right? A lot of the times when you get back pain in pregnancy, I got very large and that belly just pulls you forward, right? So your glutes also are not as strong. They become weaker. Your hormones are changing your flexibility and your joint stability. So things just become weaker because of all of that. And now that your glutes are weaker, it's not helping to support. Your core is also getting put to work. It becomes weaker. And so all of that is pulling on your lower back. And that's where a lot of that comes from. So if you can maintain that strength, especially glute strength, especially core strength throughout your pregnancy, it's going to help alleviate a lot of that pain, but also a smoother birth. It doesn't matter if you're giving birth vaginally or C-section. It's going to help with both. I ended up having a C-section, and the only time I'll brag is the doctor saying, "Oh my goodness, you have abs of steel," and she had to work to get through my core.
No
way! And I was like, yes, all
love
of that hard
this.
work throughout pregnancy. It was the best. I was literally laying there, like knocked out on medicine, getting everything ripped open, and she's like, "Okay, abs of steel," and I was like, "Yay!" Like, because you just felt so like accomplished, right? And so that, but then postpartum, having that strength, one, is just you're not having to start from zero. You've
Right.
got some of that muscle and muscle memory, but also it's going to help that recovery in your diastasis recti. And if you gave birth vaginally, your pelvic floor, but also C-section, your pelvic floor goes through like holding the baby too. And I think that a lot of people think when you have a C-section, you don't have to work your pelvic floor. You absolutely, like, you're carrying that baby, period. You have to work your pelvic floor. So strength training, working your pelvic floor, which goes when you strength train, your pelvic floor is going to get work too.
Okay. I know we have to
So
wrap
many
up,
things.
but there's so many
So
more.
many
Part
things.
2 and part 3 are already like, sorry, on the books.
Yes.
And I also want Juice to come next time because I think that'll be so fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, rapid fire questions are, what's something you can't live without?
Therapy. Do we have to elaborate?
No, that was the best answer. No
Yes.
offense to everyone that's gone before you, but that was the best
I
answer.
just want to say that I just started going to therapy consistently in November, and I know I can't see my life without it now. Like,
I love you so much. I fall in love with you more and more. Okay, what keeps you grounded?
My baby. My little baby.
Really cute.
Yes.
Who do you admire most?
My mom.
You're just the best. What makes you feel wealthy?
Being able to wake up in the morning with my own schedule.
I love that.
Yes.
And what's something few people know about you?
I feel like I think everybody knows this, but I realize daily how many people don't know that I just became an American citizen in 2018. I was a German citizen since I've been in America, and I think maybe I forget people don't. I don't know why I think everybody knows that. But yeah, I'm German. I wasn't an army brat. I'm German. I speak 75% fluent German.
You're amazing.
Yeah, so
How old were you when you moved here?
7. So I learned English like coming here. I was like still speaking German. Yeah.
That's so insane.
Now it's gone.
The other day, I said like it might be under Fritz, and normally Fritz is my father's name, which is like off the boat German.
Yeah.
And normally people are like, "What for?" And you were like, "Oh yeah, it might be under Fritz," and I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot she's real German."
Yes, real German. Yeah.
This is so fun. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
If you guys haven't checked out Juice and Toya, I even really enjoy their workouts, and I don't love a workout. But thank you, and we'll do it again soon.
For part 2. There's so much to discuss.
I can't wait. You're the best.
Thank
I love you.
for having me. I